Welcome to Historic Campus Corner. It's the day of OU's spring game. We're here on the deck, courtesy of Barrett L. Williamson Architects, Jake Trotter, Barry Tramel, and always a festive day here in Norman when Oklahoma spring practice concludes. Big season coming up for the Sooners. A lot of expectations with all the guys coming back. Jake, what do you think was the big story in the spring? A lot of the guys didn't go through a lot of drills. No reason to see what Gerald McCoy and Sam Bradford and Jermaine Gresham. What were the big storylines this spring?
I don't know if there was one dominant one. There were several ones that could contribute to OU contending for a national championship next year. One of those was Adron Tennell. He was the storyline of the spring offensively. He's a guy who was the number 3 recruit in the nation coming out of high school and really hasn't lived up to that billing because of Joaquin Iglesias and Manny Johnson and Malcolm Kelly. He got buried on the depth chart, but this is his time. He's apparently seizing it. He's a guy that could really help them next year because he's a guy that can stretch the defense vertically, go up and catch passes. And right now he's the leading candidate to fill one of those vacant starting wide receiver spots.
This offense looks like it's going to be very productive again, provided the line can protect Sam Bradford. What are the early returns on the offensive line?
Oh, I think hot and cold. I think they've had their moments this spring, and I think there have been times where they haven't played very well. And, maybe that's to be expected of a line that's replacing essentially 4 starters, 3 if you count Brian Simmons as a starter. The right side of the line is going to be key next year because that's where the newness is. They got Corey Brandon and Jarvis Jones vying for that right tackle spot. It looks like Brandon's going to win the starting job there. Then you have Stephen Good, who is just a freak of an athlete, but he's inexperienced. And then Ben Habert at center, who they really like, but again, he's untested. So that's going to be the big question mark. Can they protect for Sam Bradford? Can they block for the running backs?
Another key last season did not go so well was the kicking game. Jimmy Stevens struggled. This year, a couple of contenders for the job. Tress Way, who's here, Bryce Easley, who will be here in the fall, freshman from Norman North. What do you see out of the kicking game this spring?
What I think Tress will give them, obviously he's going to start at punter, and I think he has a chance to do well there, maybe better than they were last year with Mike Knoll. And then secondly, on long field goals, he might be able to come in and take some shots there in the 40-plus, and maybe they use Jimmy Stevens 40 yards in. I think maybe that's the mindset going into the fall. We'll see how it develops over the summer and into two-a-days, but Tressway is going to help them next year.
A unit that played really well in Miami in the loss to Florida was the defense, which at times was maligned in 2008. Lots of veterans back on the defense. The line is stacked with Gerald McCoy and DeMarcus Granger if he's healthy and all those ends. The linebackers are back, but the secondary, the safety's a little bit unproven. What about safety for the Oklahoma Sooners?
Well, I think Quentin Carter could be a budding star for them. He's a guy that started 2 games last year, started the Big 12 championship, had some big-time hits in that game. If you remember, Jeremy Maclin and Chase Daniel really planted those guys. He's a guy that could bring some pop to the secondary that I don't think they've really had since Brandon Everett graduated a few years ago. So they're really excited about him. At the other spot is Sam Proctor, and physically he's a guy that looks like a starting strong safety for OU. Mentally, can he carry that over what he's done in the spring to the fall? He had a really good spring game last year and kind of disappeared in the fall and never got on the field. So they're really counting on him, but you're right, the rest of the defense returns intact from last year.
Well, those linebackers, Travis Lewis, Keenan Clayton, Ryan Reynolds, if he's healthy and he's making good progress, how good can this defense be?
I think it can, on paper, it can be very good. I think they have to work on some things, though. Apparently, they're still giving up way too many big plays in practice, and that was the Achilles heel of this team. I think the reason they lost to Texas, they gave up all those big plays through a stretch of 3 or 4 games there in the middle of the Big 12 season. They were just getting gashed left and right. They got to shore up those big plays and make people earn the touchdowns. And I think if they do that, they have a chance to be really good because it's a deep defense, and that's what you like. At linebacker, they have a lot of guys that can play, and on the defensive line, they're very deep. So in the secondary, not so much, but the injuries tend to happen in that front 7. So they feel pretty good about the depth and the talent of this defense.
Well, of course, the veterans didn't do much this spring, as we said. DeMarco Murray sitting out, Sam Bradford just going through drills. Do you expect the offense to be as high efficient as it was in 2008?
Well, I think it has the chance to be just as good. But, again, you can't discount the talent of Joaquin Iglesias and Manny Johnson, what they did. You can't discount what those offensive linemen did. I mean, you're talking about 4 guys that have a chance to be drafted, and Phil Lodol, Duke Robinson, John Cooper, and Brandon Walker. So we'll see. It's going to really depend on, can they get another guy to emerge at wide receiver, and can that right side of the line block to the level that maybe they had at times last year. And if that happens, then you're looking at an offense that can really do a lot of damage like we saw last year. Is it a record-setting offense? I don't know, but it has a chance to be, that's for sure.
Well, that's it. Another spring in the books for the Oklahoma Sooners and an advance of a very anticipated 2009 season. Thanks a lot to Barrett L. Williamson Architects for allowing us to be on the great deck here on Campus Corner. Stay tuned for full coverage on newsok.tv as well as every day in the Oklahoman.